Okay. But I mean, really, what we're worried about is people being silly. This is a place of magic, it's a place of the spirit. It's probably a taboo place where only the initiates can come. Now, as to why it's here and then you're on your own, I believe the people of the past used this in a way that we have forgotten. They were like the North American Indian tribes. They were people in tune with the natural world, and they knew this was a place of very powerful earth energy, earth forces, earth magic. Doesn't matter what you call it. The Chinese people call it the dragon power. What I call earth energy lines, they call the powers of the dragon. And we're going to go in here and we're going to do some dowsing. We're going to actually pick that up. But I think the people of the past used this for healing, for astronomy, and maybe for other purposes. And there is a school of thought that will tell you when you put a stone circle on an earth energy point, those stones act as acupuncture needles. They channel the energy more fully. This is one of the most powerful earth energy points on the planet. But it all depends on your point of view. Let's go in and do some dowsing. I'm going to close my eyes and walk forward, and when I'm on the line, the rod will cross. I'm not doing anything. Am I on the line? Yeah. Now, we don't know why it works, we only know it does.
Just let them hang down so that they can turn on their own.
There's this one excursion where we were at the Isle of Wight, and we went hiking along this ridge as opposed to just taking a taxi cab to our hotel. And we had this assumption that one of the professors knew the way and everything, but when we got to the top of the mountain and it started raining, we really realized that we had no idea of where to go. And so we kind of had to get 20 people together on the same page to try to figure out which road to take. Every sign pointed a different which way and had a similar name, and so we had a map that didn't quite work either. But that was the moment that stood out to me, is how the group came together and used the way of the Tao, essentially, and just went with it. And we ended up exactly where we needed to be in the most efficient route. And everybody was pretty content in letting certain people lead and some people following and just supporting each other. I thought that was the moment of the excursion that stood out the most.
I teach the same course, or ostensibly the same course, but in some ways quite different. Religion and the Sciences, or Religion, Science, and the Quest for Meaning on campus. And students take the course, but we meet once a week. And in an intense class at Oxford, we're having the class every day. And even when we're not in the class and we're going and doing an experiential trip, we're still talking about those issues, and we're having other kinds of experiences and maybe having dinner together and having a conversation about it. And I think, among other things, the study abroad immersion kind of experience can get us out of the blip culture and let us pay attention to something long enough and in a sustained enough way that in and of itself sets up some kind of difference. Our experience of time is not a given. And that's one of the things that can shift fundamentally if we live long enough, or in a place long enough, where we operate at a different speed, if you will. And once we notice, the very fact that we now notice something that we weren't noticing before becomes part of the impact of the experience.
In Oxford, there seemed to be a desire to have meaningful conversations, whether it was about politics or religion or just anything similar to our class, The Meaning of Life. But we had a lot of cool conversations with locals outside of the classroom.
I get a little bit of trouble when I think about it, because I feel that maybe you're trying to police the world, you know, in different areas outside of this America.
What I mean the English people see is the films, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
The first thing of your American culture is films. And what does everybody normally say? The Americans, with respect to you, we've got the biggest land, we've got the biggest skyscrapers, we've got the biggest thing. And I think that's one of those sort of things that I think that some of us Brits sort of feel, not me personally, because I don't mind, that sort of thing, but it's that sort of, I don't know how to put it, bragging in a nice sort of way. The Americans, not everybody, you're not, don't believe you me, but I think that's the opinion that a lot of people get when, you know, the days of the John Wayne films going back into theirs. And what's your image of us is probably the bowler hat, it's pouring down with rain, the rolled up umbrella. Right? Come on, be honest, that's swinging it the other way now, isn't it? You probably think of us Brits as being that.
That people there seem to enjoy everything that they did. They found something pleasant in all situations, and that's kind of how the whole trip was. Even though there were some setbacks, for me. There's always something good to take out of it, and I've applied that to my life since.
Oxford was a tourist destination, so I think a lot of the people we tended to see weren't actually from Oxford. But from what I could tell, it was extremely laid back. The people were very friendly, very inviting. They wanted you to kind of feel at home and have a good time right along with them. We weren't treated as outsiders, we weren't treated as tourists. Everyone was very welcoming. You know, any of the pubs we went into, they were like, hey guys, how's it going? You know, what can I get you? Just like very helpful. We got to know some of the people at the pub right around the corner. You know, everyone was just super inviting, super welcoming.
I feel like the students we were with there were actually interested in their education. Whereas at San Diego State, I feel students are there just to go to college and not really to learn about what they're doing and to actually get a real education. So I felt at Oxford, not only us, but being at such a prestigious university, that's how the feeling is in Oxford, is that students really want to learn. And just, you really don't get that in San Diego.
Well, one of the greatest things that came out of these discussions from class and from one-on-one was I had this view of emotions and feelings and how that they would somehow could substitute for truth. And Professor Holsey challenged us with this question of how do you know something is not true? And I couldn't answer that with emotions or feelings. They didn't really help. And really it came down to facts and evidence and proof and stuff I didn't really want to take a look at. And now, having gone through those discussions, I kind of have a better foundation for my beliefs. I think it's rooted in a deeper truth and really getting down to the hardcore evidence of why things are the way they are or why things aren't the way they aren't.
I grew a lot because of the first class because it required a lot of self-reflection, and we covered a lot of really intense topics, and I never really had thought that much about myself, but doing the diary and reading all the books, I really learned a lot about myself.
Well, I know it's cliche to say, like, study abroad will change your life, but for me, it honestly did. Like, I had always known I wanted to be a teacher, but to be in England and especially traveling around Europe really showed me that my passion is for other people of other cultures, and that's really what I want to do now, is to teach abroad, and without the experiences I've had studying abroad, I wouldn't have realized that.
It sort of makes you grow up, realize where you are, realize who you are. I've been abroad about 3 times before then, so I had traveled, but it had always been with family and into more mainstream places, and I wasn't on my own. And here, you know, you're responsible for every aspect of your own trip. You know, you're still taking classes, it's still your education, and you're meeting new people, and you're on your own, and you're part of a little community, and you learn how you're going to interact in different situations with different people, especially with people of different cultures, and you kind of realize who you want to be, and if it's not how you are, you learn how to change it.
The core of man's being, the core of man's spirit is in new experiences, and I definitely believe that's true. And so I think studying abroad is just the ultimate way to get out of your comfort zone, see the world, and really the biggest impact it's going to have is on yourself and how these new experiences are going to possibly transform your life. So get out there and do it.
So for me, these trips, these experiences are as deeply enriching for me as I hope they are for students. That's a pretty nice place to be in that kind of position where now, even, gosh, 25 years after I began teaching, it helps me reconnect with why I chose this profession in the first place. And that's a pretty nice payoff.